Hello everyone. I don't even know what date it is, but hello to you all. I'm just gonna wait for a few people to come in. This is going to be an update. We'll just go back quite briefly into the energies that presented really from September through to the end of 2018. We'll recap on that because I think it's important for people to be aware of those energies, because they could still be, well, they will be going through those energies at any point. So just while waiting for a few more people to come in, we've got 32, but just while we're waiting for a few people to come in, I just want to say I'm always aware of the volume of my voice. This microphone is absolutely fine. The problem I have is that my voice has changed through this ascension, and each experience that, the more we go into our heart space, the frequency of us changes, and so our voice reflects that. So if I was out and about 3D and I got triggered, say I got triggered, my voice would change and it would be louder. So I'm aware that people that are hard of hearing or with difficulty hearing, hearing impaired, I'm aware that they have problems listening to me. I've already looked into buying another microphone, but I'm holding off because it's quite a technical thing and I want to make sure it covers all bases for future work to come. So I am sorry if people with hearing difficulties can't hear me correctly, but if I were to change my voice and the frequency that I'm in, there'd just be no point in me being on the planet. So please bear with. And now we've got 81 in the house, so we can get cracking. I'm just going to recap, and I might go out off on tangents about things that will also help people, although it is the forerunners that are experiencing what I relay predominantly. That's not for all time, because everything is so fluid, and what I say will assist everyone in a sense, and this video will assist people if you come back to it in 2 months' time. Just save it in your preferences and come back to it, because there'll be a lot of information here that you'll be experiencing and going through. In terms of the ascension, there are 3 categories, if you like, of journeys, of frequencies, and yet those 3 categories are completely fluid. So somebody that falls into one category in this ascension, because everything is possible, there is infinite potential, nothing is set in stone, it's completely fluid, and it's completely beyond the human control. So although there are 3 categories, we could say, just to describe, of people, that in itself is not static, it's not stationary. So there are those that are still asleep, and more will awaken this year. They are having that 3D linear experience. That is what their soul has chosen before this incarnation. There are people there that will awaken and go like that. very, very quickly. Then there's this section in the middle of people that are awakened at various stages of awakening. And we all go through that. We all go through and pass through those various stages of awakening, where there are initiation stages that each experience at their time, at their right time. And again, that is the path that they have chosen prior to this incarnation. And then these people are still reliant on the information on the outside. It's kind of like an internal war. They know the information is on the inside, but they still look for it on the outside. And that is a transitional stage. You become less and less and less reliant on the information on the outside as the ascension goes forward for each. You get to the stage where you know the only information that pertains to you is the information on the inside. Each facet before this incarnation was given what I call, and it's just a label, but what I call, because of the way it was shown to me as I learnt it, is a crystalline light program. And on each person's light program, which is very unique and individual, there are key points which we can associate with years of our life, where this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And we go through all these human experiences, which we have been advised about, we've agreed to before this incarnation. And then at a certain stage, boom, we wake up. And then this happens, and then this happens. So everybody's light program's probably the wrong word, but it is a crystalline, I can only think of the word program, but it's crystalline, and it activates you and activates you and activates you all the way through your life, whether you're asleep or awake. And so everybody's journey is unique to them, even though it's all going in the same direction as each other. Even though it's actually ultimately all one, each journey is unique, and that's why the answers always come from within us. I've made a few notes because I knew I'd go off the point and off tangent, so apologies for that. But the point is that people that watch this live, this video, and the wall, there's such an array of people there that I'm trying to cover, or include everyone. And even if this information doesn't resonate with you now, it will do at some point. And I know it will resonate with quite a few people, which is really why I'm doing it, to offer the support. So let's go back to September, which was what I called it was the harvest. September equinox was the harvest. So we received energies that were the sum total of everything that we had accomplished energetically. What I want to say about all energies that come to Gaia via the 26,000 year timeline is that once that energy arrives, it's here for good. So if we take the 1111, or if we take the gateway of the solstice, those energies came in as per the galactic timeline of this mass ascension of Gaia, humanity, and beyond. So when those energies come at divine timing, they're here for good. If a person doesn't experience the potential of that energy, of any energy that arrives, if they don't experience it at that particular point, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is it's here. It's arrived. So somebody doesn't have to wait for another gateway to experience the energies that came in on the solstice, or that came in on 11/11, or that came in on 21 September last year. They're here. They're a done deal. So people, excuse me, each person or each facet will experience those energies at their right time as their path of ascension. But they're here. There's no waiting for them once each energy arrives, because it's on a galactic timeline. So I just want to make that clear. There's nothing to miss at all. It is just miraculous that this is all happening in the first place. And what I talk about now, if you haven't gone through it, then that's okay, because you will go through it. It's why you're here. It's why we're all here. So, although there's 3 categories, it's the forerunners that experience those energies, those energies that present from the galactic timeline. Is the forerunners that experience it first. And they're the ones, they don't have anyone to ask. They go through it themselves. They know that to ask on the outside is to experience somebody else's perception of what they are going through and they are experiencing. So those forerunners are actually quite isolated, or can feel quite isolated. It's a very hard journey because they have no one to ask. And that's why I do reach out and try and support them, because there's a huge difference between feeling lonely and feeling alone. And if you're a forerunner, you can feel alone, because you know it's pointless asking anyone. You know you're going to only grow by going within and gaining your own true knowledge for your path on your timeline. So we'll carry on. Because of this September 2018 equinox energies, that energy that presented then, the harvest, was a point, an acceleration point like this, and it continued to the end of the year. What people experience as a huge, obvious experience, whether it was last year or whether it's this year, it doesn't matter, but it will be experienced. And that is that you will be presented with experience, situation, or event that completely and utterly drains your energy right down. So it doesn't matter who gifts you that. It's irrelevant who presents that situation to you that completely and utterly saps your energy. It's not about them. It could be anyone. They just come in to your dream, to your reality. Your higher self presents a person, doesn't matter who it is, that gives you the gift, an unexpected gift, that completely and utterly drains your energy right down, so that you feel all the work you've done, all that energy, there's just nothing there. And that is a huge event for anyone to go through. And I'm saying this because I know full well, I went through that last year, and I know there's people going through it right now, which is why I'm saying it, just to support you. It doesn't matter who it was that gave you that experience. They were supposed to. It's guided by your higher self to drain your physical body, your mental, your emotional, right down so that you feel you're running on empty. And you almost feel like a helpless baby. Seriously. And that's the gift. Because once that's occurred for you, you're then in such an empty state that a cellular crystalline activation can occur to all the cells of your body. And that crystalline activation to the human will present as huge illness. Huge as in you're at that energetic low, then your body pretty much can't move, hard to walk. It's a virus. I'm going to say it. It's a virus. So everything about you, your mental, your emotional, your energetic has been brought down, down, down by the experience in your dream. Doesn't matter who it is. And then you've reached that state where your body collapses as well. And at that point, the crystalline activation takes place in every single cell of your body. I've spoke about this before, but briefly, because I can see into anything I want to. I went into the cells of my body last year and I looked and I saw what was going on. And I could see the crystalline activation within each cell. And it takes time. It will knock you for 6. You'll be out for weeks. You'll feel very, very weak in a physical body way. And all you can do is let go and allow it, and allow the time it takes to go through and for your cells to actually adjust. Every single cell of your body is affected. So there's various symptoms to it. But it is the crystalline cellular upgrade. Once you've got through that, the energies of 2112, the solstice, December last year, presented rebirth energies. I haven't spoken too much about them because of what's followed, but it's okay to now. I don't tend to talk too much about my own experiences, and that is generally, if I'm really, really honest, it's down to a lack of my own self-worth that I don't yak on and on and on about my own experiences because of a lack of self-worth. Also because the times I have spoken privately to people about what has been profound experiences to go through, if there's no reaction, that has literally added to my lack of self-worth. And it's all about me. I realize that. But it's just kind of reiterated the lack of self-worth when you get no response about something that is just a miracle in your own life. So I tend to stay quiet about my own experiences. But I realized yesterday, as I was working on myself, and this realization that still there is self-worth, lack of self-worth, and it's been there all my life. I cleared it yesterday. So I realize it's okay to talk about experiences a little bit more openly. Sometimes when you speak about experiences, it can trigger people because they have a lack of self-worth. So, when you're sensitive to other people, you kind of hold back because you're being sensitive and respectful to them. But this is a year rest assured it's a year when those that have played small all their lives can't actually play small anymore, because the higher self doesn't play small. It just is. It just is what it is. It's not small, it's not ego. So you know, it's a year when people that have a lack of self-worth will look at that and realize that if they are being true to themselves at their higher level, they can't no longer play small. And equally, if a person is heavily in their ego, it's a year when they will realize that too, and will start to work on their ego more and more and more, because the higher self does not possess ego. The higher self is in tune and at one with everything. It's in a field of oneness. There's no need for ego in one field. How can you be ego to yourself if you are one? It's only a separational experience that ego is experienced through the linear mind. So as people embody more their higher self, so the ego drops and drops and drops. I just want to touch on the higher self a little bit. It's going off track, but it's good again for people at different stages just to understand. Each person, each facet goes through their ascension at different stages. There comes a point on the ascension where the person's done X amount of work on themselves. And when that point comes, remember the crystalline program that I told you about, the light program that you came in with. When that point comes where the person's done sufficient work on themselves, they go through an internal divine marriage. And it's a marriage of the masculine energy and the feminine energy. So a person will have come in predominantly with one predominant energy. And that divine marriage brings in the missing energy. It's not missing, there's always been a part of it there, but it brings in the other energy in full into the body. Now, at that stage, it's a divine marriage that everybody will know when they go through it. For me, it was a 3. I've just realised 3. 3's coming up so much, but it's a 3-day ceremony, an internal experience, very trippy. But what I'm trying to say here, this is really valid, is I can say now that just because the higher self transcends in and you become masculine and feminine energy, it doesn't mean that's it, the higher self is in the body, boom, we're away. No, it doesn't. There's an integration stage that continues and continues and continues. It's little by little. So you go through this divine inner marriage and so two energies become one. But you're going to remember that the energy that came in is your higher self. So just in case I'm confusing people here, I'll give myself as example. My energy in this body, excuse me, was predominantly a feminine energy. I'm not talking about the physical body as being female. It was predominantly a feminine energy that I came in as. So the masculine energy came in May of last year. Now, I can categorically say that by looking back from May through to now, there's been this gradual process of the integration of that masculine energy. So my higher self is predominantly the masculine energy with feminine energy in it. And my humanness was predominantly female, a feminine energy with some degree of masculine energy in it. So just because the merge takes place within us doesn't mean that's it. There's a huge step-by-step integration stage of the higher self. It's very gradual. It's not a sudden change. There's a profound change, but the higher self becomes you in a very gradual way. And as it's happening, so you are experiencing your life and the events and the people, etc. So that's a bit of a digression, but hopefully it'll help. So at the solstice, the rebirth energy is presented to humanity, which means that some will have gone through it on that date, and then some will have gone it the day after, or January, or February, or March. It feels that many will go through it by March. That's how it feels for me, strongly actually. So again, hold this video and go back to it. Save it. But what the rebirth energy is, which I haven't truly explained, it's a period in your timeline, because the energy is now here, when each experience, again, 3 days of energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, the essence of God in all moments. In those 3 days, there's no escaping God's presence. You can't switch it off. So we know, don't we, that we can be in this mode and that mode and this mode, and our frequencies can go in, up, down, and it's always moving, always flowing. But in those 3 days, the rebirth, there's just one essence. And it's an essence of God. It's the energy of God. And it doesn't matter what you do or what you say. It doesn't go away. Not for 1 second of your day. And that lasts for 3 days. And that's the rebirth. What happens after that rebirth? So there's no denying God. There's no denying it. And we all have, let's just try and be a bit clearer. We all have the experiences of bliss, don't we? It could be a meditation. It could be just right now. It could be just looking at the sky and you feel that energetic bliss. It's an energy of that we can label bliss. That is not the experience within the 3-day rebirth. There's only one word that describes it, and that, or 3 words: essence of God. So it's beyond bliss. It's beyond that bliss feeling, beyond harmony, beyond love as we know it. It's just the presence. And it does not go away for 1 second. You can't deny it. That's the rebirth. What follows the rebirth, those 3 days, is quite quick, very strong. What follows is the necessity that is being presented by your higher self, that masterminds, that oversees your life form. It's the necessity, a very quick and sharp necessity, to cut any remaining cords, energetic cords that you still might have. Of course, for the human, that can feel painful. That can bring up many human emotions as you experience that. But your higher self knows where the cords are. And there's a reason your higher self is bringing it in super fast. Because your higher self does not possess any energetic cords to anything within the illusion, within the dream. Your higher self is the one that masterminds your experience in this reality. It's actually the overseer, the creator of your dream. And that higher self does not have any attachment to the dream. The higher self is consciousness that just experiences. And that's it. It just experiences. It has no attachment to anything. So if there's one or two things that we are still energetically attached to, they'll come into our field and they'll be dealt with very starkly, very quickly. Now that doesn't mean to say, just to be clear, that you're gonna, people are gonna go out of your life. It doesn't mean that. People can still be in your life, absolutely. That's a choice that the human makes. Your human, my human. What it means is that any contracts that we've had prior to this incarnation, when we've agreed to meet this person and this happened, we've agreed that this person is going to help us have this experience or that experience. They're going to be the actor, if you like, in our dream that allows us the experiences we have. And so we set up experiences to have for the soul before we incarnate. But what it means at this stage of the ascension is that we are letting go of all those contracts, all those remaining energetic cords, because the higher self doesn't have any. The higher self knows that everything is a part of itself. It's not in a field of separation. And the whole point of this ascension is that the higher self becomes the one that, the consciousness that we are as a human being. It's a bit hard to describe, but the higher self is always becoming more and more and more and more the human experience, until at a given point the higher self has complete and utter control of the human experience. And that's when we will and do transition and flick consciousness, and when we won't go back down to the human consciousness level we have lived by so far. So these energetic cords, any remaining, and there just might be a few, but what they're going to point out things to you. With me, it pointed out that I had played small with people, and so I had to cut that cord, because the higher self doesn't recognize being less than or more than another. That's the human experience, to have the experience this lifetime of feeling less than another or more than another. It's just an experience. That's all it is. So the energetic cords will present quickly, sharply after a rebirth. It becomes about that at that point, what we are connected to still. Excuse me. What we are attached to still. And the realization dawns at that point that there's one remaining attachment for each. And that's the attachment to this. So as a human being that thinks this consciousness is this life experience, is this body. But if the higher self is going to become all of this in the physical, then we have to detach from it. And so that realization dawns that we will choose to, and it is a choice, by the way, all of this is a choice for everybody. I'm just explaining it, that's all. So discard it if it doesn't resonate, please. But the detachment to the human body takes place. It's the final detachment, that we are not attached to this physical vessel. And when that's allowed, when the person wants to realize that at their own time, in their own way, then there is complete surrender. That's what's occurred. Because we've detached lovingly from everything we were attached to. And it is always, always a loving detachment. If we experience a break or a detachment from someone and it just is a lack of love, then there's work to be done. There's a lesson there, there's a gift, there's a beautiful gift to grow from. Detachment for the experience of the higher self is a letting go with love from the heart, just in realization of what we're becoming. It's always from the heart, it's always from love. So once we have detached from knowing that we were attached to this physical body, in other words, we're letting go of what we think this experience is. That's what we're detaching from. We've defined this human experience and we're letting go of any idea of what's to follow for this vessel. That's what we're doing. There's no expectation. There's just a detachment from the old version. And what that does is it places us in a complete and utter surrender of anything to follow. During that process, especially from the rebirth, absolutely from the rebirth onwards, for the humanness of us, the human beingness of us, the one that thinks in the linear brain, the one that experiences emotions, the one that has the linear thoughts based on the humanness that we've experienced. It can be quite hard, quite isolating. So there's this joy and rise within you going on. And at the same time, there's a letting go going on. So you're doing this and you're doing that at the same time. And for the human, we always experience everything from the human first. It's always that way for this lifetime. We experience from the humanness of us first. But in that humanness, there's layers and layers and layers of truths. And we can look at ourselves by raising our vibration within us, raising our frequency, feeling better, and then looking at the higher and higher truths of what is really going on. because what's going on this human level is just a level of consciousness. There are infinite layers of consciousness, truths that we can experience. But from that rebirth onwards, and the detachments that the final detachments that you've made, including your body, that's when things start to change. And in truth, you're breaking away from the dream. You're letting go of the whole of it, the whole of the dream. You're letting go of any attachment to the dream itself, to your physical body, to the players in your dream, to the experiences in your dream. And so when you're in communication with others outside of you, people, family, light workers, friends, anyone, you can't relate to them. And that increases the idea that you can't relate to the people in your self-created dream. It increases and increases and increases because you're moving outside of it. That's why. It's nothing really to do with them, in the sense that there's no blame and there's no judgment. It's just that you're energetically, your consciousness is moving, transitioning outside of the dream. And so it's very, very difficult to relate to anybody. And you reach the stage where it all seems like a film, a pre-recording, where everything people say is like watching a film. You know it's a film. You know it's not. You know it's a dream. So let's go back. Let's take an example just to define this further, because I just want to make sure I'm being clear so that it helps people. You know when you go to sleep at night and you dream, and then in the morning you wake up, or you might wake up in the middle of the night like I did last night, and you wake up, go to the loo, but you've woken up from the dream. So you know, and you can recall the experience in the dream, but you've just woken up from it. So let's take that, and now let's place that as what is really being experienced by having a living life as a human at this point in the ascension. All of this, all of it, is a self-created reality. Everything that occurs in it is masterminded, overseen by the higher self, that then becomes the one consciousness that steers this vehicle, that operates this mind. And in order for that to happen, step by step, stage by stage, experience by experience, we start to wake up from the dream. And ultimately, we do this. We come out of the dream, because the higher consciousness is not in the dream. It observes the dream. And so we will end up in the state of a higher consciousness state that is the observer of the dream. That's the transition. And it's the phase we're in now. There are many ways we can describe it, label it, and you know, it doesn't really matter. Choose the one that resonates with you in your path the most. I've always known I would become enlightened in this lifetime. because I've already been enlightened in a previous lifetime that I remember. The path has been to assist with the Christ conscious energy. It doesn't matter what you label it. It's a change in consciousness. Everything is consciousness observing itself. Everything. And so some people might relate to the phrase Christ consciousness. Some might relate to the phrase cosmic consciousness. Some might relate to the phrase becoming enlightened. It doesn't matter. Choose what resonates with you and your path. But it's a transition phase that is occurring now based on these energies, on the rebirth energy that came in December, which means this transition stage is here. It's here for everyone at their time, for them to experience. It's not going to go away. Nobody's missing the boat. No one. No one. And the forerunners help support. This stage, it's a transitional stage. I just want to close my eyes just for a second, if you don't mind. You're just exiting. You've let go of the humanness you thought you were. And you are in, or you will experience, almost a passageway. It feels like a journey. It's the leaving behind of the old consciousness and the bringing in of the higher consciousness that you always, always have been, that has been with you all along, that has loved you unconditionally all along, and it is that which you become. You become the higher consciousness with the additional use of a physical, solid human form that you can operate in the world of solidity for the great good of all things. It is not so much that you are in service to humanity. It is that you are in service to all things, the whole of creation. And it is that you have been tested again and again on your ascending path for your integrity. And it is your integrity that you build as you remember, as you integrate once more that which you have always been. So this phase that presents now may present for you right now. It may present for you next week, next month, next year. It doesn't matter. when you're in this phase, you're not going to really be able to relate to anything within the dream itself. There's one thing that you will be able to relate to, two things that you will be able to relate to when you're in this transitional phase. One is love, because you can feel the frequency of another that comes from love. And the other is Gaia. It's absolutely correct, beautiful, and known at this phase, at this stage, that whilst you cannot really relate to the words of anyone in your dream, and it can bring about a feeling of being alone at your stage, you're not, because Gaia steps in and she's there for you. You just have to ask her a question. I always say, what is it that you'd like to show me today? I just leave it open. Doesn't matter, I'll get something. And then just drop your thoughts. Stop thinking. Just look. Go out in the fresh air and just look. Drop your thoughts and you'll be shown. And the love that you'll receive back when you're shown, you'll feel it. So you're not alone. Absolutely not alone. And it's amazing. It surprised me how beautiful it is that at this stage, when there's nothing in the dream itself that we relate to anymore, because it's all like a film playing out. We know it's a film at this stage. Everything people say, it's like watching an old movie. It doesn't even feel the same timeline. It feels like everyone else is on a different timeline to you. And there's one constant, Gaia. So if you feel this way, just know that you can ask Gaia. Just look at a leaf, look at a blade of grass, look at a cloud and drop your thoughts. It doesn't matter what you look at. Drop your thoughts. And you will absolutely feel her love back to you. It's just amazing that she's always been there for every single facet. And you'll find such support there at that stage, at this stage. So this transitional stage is about the change in consciousness from that which we were or thought we were, that which we experienced by, to a higher consciousness that experiences completely differently to the older human version that still that operates the body, but in a completely different way. It's a completely different way of being, thinking, feeling, knowing, a completely different way of learning, because we see and experience the higher octaves, the higher frequencies that we can say are reality, as far as reality as a word is correct. So just allow yourself the stage as you go through it. It's your stage. You just do it your way. You're unique. and beautiful way. I don't know how long this stage lasts either. I just don't know. But the energies are here. And so people are most definitely going to be experiencing this right now and in the months to come. So just know you're absolutely loved all the way home back to yourself, which is everything. The higher self is already unified, already connected in every single moment to what we can call God, Source, Creator, Original Point, ever present, already one with absolutely everything. And the transitional stage, once we're through it, once we are the higher self and the lower consciousness is no more. It's permanent for this lifetime. And there's no escaping God. No escaping your connection in any moment to everything. So I do hope this has helped. Keep this video. If you're on Facebook, just save it. If you want to, of course. Because it might just help you. Or there might be one part in it that helps you as we carry on. I hope it's helped. And I love you all so very, very much. I celebrate you all. I celebrate you as your uniqueness, your beauty, your expression. Being here, coming for showing up and for getting up every time you fall down. Because why here. So God bless you. Truly, truly hope this has helped. And we're one. I love you. Thank you. Bye for now. Bye everyone.